prime yet, Deshaun Watson is exactly who you want as quarterback if you don't have Patrick Mahomes. Like in the entire league when you factor in age and everything. This is the dude you want. Every team was going to pay him. Every team. He owes no special allegiance to the Texans because they happen to be the team that drafted him. Why does Deshaun Watson want out in the first place? Because he was lied to. I mean, forget about the fact that they trade DeAndre Hopkins. He finds out about it after the fact, right? That's his dude. That's one of the best receivers in football. And they're boys on top of it. But then you promise him. You sit down and promise him after you fire Bill O'Brien, reportedly, you promise him that he will have input into the coaching and the GM search, right? And did he? No, it was completely ignored. In fact, the Texans, McNair paid search firms to find candidates. And when those candidates came back, and by the way, some of them were not white, they were all rejected in favor of the guy really running the entire show right now, Jack Easterby, who was formerly the team's chaplain. That's the guy running the show, and that's the guy apparently the force behind pushing DeAndre Hopkins out the door. And Jack Easterby may have been an amazing chaplain. I don't know that qualifies him to run an NFL team. You know, you can have a dentist you really like, but you're not going to have him, do your taxes necessarily, right? So I think that Deshaun Watson is in the situation where he actually is the guy with the biggest legitimate beef. He is in a losing situation, and that's not going to turn around by the looks of things anytime soon.
Max Kellerman, believe it or not, easy answers would be Watson, obviously Dak Prescott because of the way he feels, the lack of appreciation and respect, and as well he should. But believe it or not, at this particular moment, for this day, I'm going to actually go with Russell Wilson. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. Because look at all he's done and all he's accomplished. You do get to a point, and I'm very serious when I say this, Max. Excuse me. Think about what we just finished talking about in terms of black coaches. Well, now, Max, let's expand that conversation. Not that it has anything to do with it, but I'm just talking about as a black man how you feel. If you're Russell Wilson, you can reach a point where, what more can I do? I've been a model citizen. I don't get in any trouble. I represent this organization with sheer perfection. Go Hawks is the period to every sentence that comes out of my mouth during every interview. I've gone to 2 Super Bowls. I've won a Super Bowl title. I've carried this franchise on my back. You've got a very workable contract situation with me. And all I did was walk into your office and talk to you about how can we prevent me from getting hit. I've been sacked 394 times, okay, over my career. I've been hit over 1,100 times. I'm starting to feel it. Could you help me here? And he ends up walking out of the office disgusted and feeling like he was summarily dismissed and not listened to, if you believe the reports. I haven't spoken to Pete Carroll or anybody. I don't know. I'm only going by the report, so I think it's important to say that. But what I'm saying is, if you feel that way, that's entirely different. You're Dak Prescott. You got 4 years in the league. You got a nasty ankle injury. Yeah, Jerry Jones should have took care of you, but we understand from a business perspective with you coming off that nasty injury, if he has the mentality, let's see what you got, it ain't the worst thing in the world. You're Deshaun Watson. You just got your money last year. Evidently, whatever happened was a product of what transpired this last season in which Bill O'Brien ultimately ended up leaving, even though we had Bill O'Brien, problems with Bill O'Brien staying, even though we wondered why every year some other coach or even a GM, the former GM Rick Smith was gone, but somehow, some way Bill O'Brien stayed on board. You lost Bob McNair, who passed away in 2018. God rest his soul, but now his son's taking over. So there's a lot of things that transpire within the organization, and it could just be a bit haphazard. So even though he wants out and you don't blame him, in the same breath, it could be relatively new. If you're Russell Wilson, this is Pete Carroll. This is my man. This is the only coach we ever had here. How the hell do I do all of this? We supposed to have this relationship, and then all of a sudden, I find myself wanting to get the hell up out of here because I'm being treated like I'm somebody that didn't throw 40 touchdowns, that didn't pass for over 4,000 yards, that hasn't led this team for years. You do get to a point, particularly as a black man, where, excuse me, You can hold whatever you want against me, but once I honor the merits of whatever situation you put before me, and I show, despite the obstacles, that I can adapt, adjust, and ultimately overcome, when am I going to get mine? Meaning respect. And I think that's where Russ is here right now mentally, and that's why I would say he's the one with the biggest beat
talk about
this immediate moment.
I don't agree with this at all. Let's talk about the issues, possible issues. First of all, you brought up race. These are 3 African-American quarterbacks. We can control for race because race, you could argue, is an issue in each case. If you want to argue it's an issue for Russell Wilson, and you've alluded to that maybe with Dak and the Cowboys, and well, I mean, you just talked about especially for a black man in Russell Wilson's case.
I'm just talking about what you feel, but I'm not saying that race has anything to do with it.
No, I understand, but there's a racial component to it from that point of view, potentially with all 3. Okay, so you could put that aside for a second when you're comparing who should have the biggest beef. Now let's talk about money. Well, then Dak, right? Because Dak has not gotten his contract. Russell Wilson's contract looks good now, but when he signed it, it was top of the market. He got to that second contract. It was huge. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. You know what the difference is here, Stephen A? Russell Wilson has been in a winning situation. Russell Wilson, you mentioned it, won a Super Bowl, got to another Super Bowl, perennially winning double digits, in position. I think if Jamal Adams had been healthy this year, they'd have had a good chance to make a little playoff run. You know, that's not Deshaun Watson. In certain respects, it's a similar situation, but Deshaun Watson's in a losing position. And even when they were winning, Stephen A., it was so much about what Deshaun Watson was doing. It was so much Deshaun. And then they have a 4-win season, and it's because they make bonehead after bonehead decision in the front office where it's not like we're looking back now and saying, in retrospect, that was a bad idea. When they made the decisions, they're like, what are they doing? And then it panned out that way. So Russell Wilson, say what you will, he's going to the playoffs, and he knows it in Seattle. And maybe he might make a Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson sitting there going, I got no shot in this place. And what's crazy to me, Stephen A., is since he wants out no matter what, their only chance to really rebuild that thing is to trade him, get at least 3 first-round picks, and get to work.
And my response to you is you would need to listen to the question. The question is the biggest beef. I understand that he's in a situation where he can't win football games. I get that. But his beat, because you guess what? They haven't won but so much any damn way. And in the Dallas Cowboys case, they haven't won in recent memory. We get all of that. The biggest beef, in other words, I've got a problem with you. Excuse me, I have produced. Why am I having these issues, Pete Carroll? Why am I having issues with your son? I'm just saying there's something that transcends just the field of play. It might be about the field of play, but in terms of how you are treated, how you are respected, how your counsel is received, etc. That's what we're talking about here.
We saw it with Tom Brady.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we saw it with Tom Brady in Tampa.
Tom Brady had that beat in New England. Of course. We can point that. They ain't the only ones, but as of right now, that's what appears to be going on with Russell Wilson, and that's what I don't think that can be ignored. If Russell Wilson can't receive the respect that he thinks he deserves, that's a problem, because that's not something that should happen.
Russell Wilson, the only quarterback in NFL history to produce a winning season, his first 9 seasons in the NFL, and most touchdown passes and touchdown runs, tied with Peyton Manning. So he certainly has the numbers. We'll leave it there when we come back here on First.